Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. Happy Friday. I hope you're ready to have some fun. Raise the roof wherever you're at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're all raising the roof. This is a 1994 middle school dance, is what it is here today, everybody. Yes. Yeah. Is that right? Raise the roof 94? Why are you doing disco 94?
No, I think maybe in 94 the roof was on fire. I'm not sure.
No, the roof was on fire in like 97. I think that was Bloodhound Gang. So anyway, could be wrong. I'm not Matt Pinfield. And again, these are all 90s jokes for our core demo.
Even that was a good drop. Matt Pinfield. Wow.
Been a minute, right? Remember Pinfield with his bald head and his big juicy brain, you know? God.
Oh, I do. Wow. Happy Friday, y'all. Big juicy to everybody out there who may or may not have a big juicy brain.
Yes. So to all of our juicy brained viewers and listeners out there, welcome to the party, everybody. We have a big show here today. We're going to be talking a lot of news, highs and lows, the past 24 hours of pro wrestling. What's that DDD sound? Is something tapping on the?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just adjusting my mic. I thought I was going to do it all stealthy, but you caught me.
No, it sounded like we were getting signals from like the U.S. government via Morse code or something. It was very weird. It's fine. It stopped. It stopped.
I thought my adjusting my mic gimmick covered it. It's fine.
Oh man. By the way, before I get back into my gimmick, 89 the brainchild. I'm a Dave Holmes, Carson Daly guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, no love for Pinfield from 89 the
TRL for L.
I guess forever, right? So if you want to join in the show here today, obviously me and Christy are here. The chat room is open wherever you're at. We got Rick Plott here on Facebook. 89 the brainchild was over on just like Dean Bragg, who's over on YouTube chatting with us. We've got Brian Bills over at Twitch. Jesse, oh yeah, wasn't he the guy that won the MTV VJ contest that looked like
Jesse Van Camp?
The tall beanstalk man with the crazy hair. Am I getting that right? Wow.
Yep, that was Jesse Van Camp. He's had some issues since then. It's a fascinating story.
Okay, I did not. I know what rabbit hole I'm falling down this weekend. Jesse, I totally forgot about Jesse. This is the best. This is a fun Friday, truly. So jump in the chat room. You can talk with Christy and I about literally almost, it appears to be anything today. We'll throw it up on the screen. We'll get on into it. Also, we want to start the show on a good news item here. Congratulations to Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux. They're officially engaged. They're going to get married. Surprise.
Yes, that's usually what that means. You know what, Nick? Huge congratulations to them. They're such a beautiful couple. The ring is lovely. But you know, doesn't this feel like kind of a deflated announcement? You know, this is something that would be really huge. And I'm wondering if somehow they all of a sudden just had to kind of put this out there because they need to avoid some kind of Lana Rusev situation from back in the day with TMZ. Remember how they got split up because Lana leaked to TMZ that they were engaged? So I don't know. This announcement seems a little sus to me. But either way, you know, congratulations.
Well, and you have consistently brought up how people like get engaged just before the draft, which is happening right now, right? Because then if you're a married couple, and you've brought this up several times in the past for different couples, coincidentally, 2 weeks before the draft, maybe there were rumblings internally. Kross was going to stay on Raw. Maybe they saw a spot for Scarlett on SmackDown. I'm just putting it out there, Christy. I don't know. You know,
Nick, I think you've nailed it right. Hit the nail right on the head. Boom.
So anyway, hot bit of tea spilling right up top, man.
Love this.
All right, well, congratulations to them. Yes, Brian Bills here saying bingo, Christy. So Kross and Scarlett, that's good news. Bad news here up top. Before we get to the rest of the show, we want to send our best to indie wrestler Benny Cumberbatch. He sustained serious neck injury this past weekend. The spot that left Cumberbatch in the hospital occurred during the finals of a deathmatch tournament. Now hear this. I don't want to make jokes about this because this man is like in the hospital, broken neck. There's a GoFundMe to help him. But this sounds ridiculous. He received a Canadian destroyer flipping pile driver off of a balcony into a collection of tables and other debris. And what added to the risk factor was the fact that all the padding in the ring had been removed, leaving nothing but exposed wood below the tables. He was a Colorado favorite. He's in the hospital. One source has told us things are not looking good. A GoFundMe is available, again, for Benny Cumberbatch if you can go help him with his medical bills. But really, at the same time, I hope a moment to breathe. I do feel like we're getting to some pretty crazy levels right now in pro wrestling. I saw this photo of Takeda all over my timeline yesterday with actual forks in his back. I don't know if you saw this or not.
Oh, I didn't. I can imagine.
Only I maybe our Twitter feeds are a little different. But yeah, really, really gnarly stuff. So, I know we're at this fever pitch right now when it comes to the deathmatch stuff, and I see a place for it when it's done correctly. But this is, I think maybe we start to draw some lines here and reflect on really what we're doing here to ourselves. Anyway, that's my little thing on it.
Well, trends start to evolve in any kind of a world. And of course, the dark side of the ring with Nick Gage and him being on AEW, this whole deathmatch thing was bound to get really hot. And then it was bound to burn a little bit too hot, right? And just like everything else in pro wrestling, when it gets big, then we have to take an extra close look at it and make sure it's safe, make sure it's working for everyone. Maybe death matches aren't something that are going to maybe frequent and extreme death matches are not something that are going to work for the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think the GCW kind of has their secret sauce right now where they have people that have been doing death match. I mean, it's a very tight circle. The problem is I don't really know Benny, and I don't want to cast any aspersions on his wrestling or anything because, again, this guy's in the hospital. I'm wishing him nothing but the best. But I know that there is a really tight community for that, and, I don't know. And even in that tight community, I've had friends. My buddy Marcus Crane. It's a pretty gnarly story for anybody who has a queasy stomach. But he had the GoFundMe 2 years ago where fans bring the weapons death match. Somebody brought a staple gun. The guy went to staple my buddy Marcus's head, and the fan had put the 2-inch staples in it, not the little staples, and cracked his skull. They had to take a whole bit of his skull out. He has a fake skull here now, and it's really, really crazy. So I mean, I'm not saying but I mean, definitely, you gotta know what you're doing. You have to know everything that is going on in and around a situation like that, and it's what it is. It's not. I mean, there will always be a lane for this kind of stuff, but there are people out there I know that know how to do this stuff right and take it very seriously and all that. But it's a crazy bit of business. So anyway,
Sending in the best.
That's why we started off the show with that. So we're sending the best to Benny, and once again, congratulations on the good news to Cross and Scarlett. All right, well, let's get to this show here today, Christy. We have a great conversation later on. After we're going to talk the news of the day. My conversation with gimmick attorney Mike Dawkins. You might have seen him being tweeted about often by Zach Wright or Matt Cardona now. Alongside Smart Mark Sterling. So Mike is an actual trademark lawyer who has helped several wrestlers obtain trademarks after their WWE life so that they can have ownership of their names and other things that, accoutrement that come along with being an independent pro wrestler. So it's a great conversation. It's a bit of an inside baseball conversation for sure. And if you're
but it's the kind of stuff that we always want to know. And then things pop up and we're all just talking out of our butt. This is the real information of how things really go down.
Yeah. And he talks, he's had to help people when WWE's trying to lock down trademarks, giving them advice,
right.
And so you get to hear a little bit about what he thinks about WWE's trademark practices and how they do their business. And I think my favorite part is at the end. I just asked him to give advice to indie wrestlers in regards to trademarks and stuff. And he has a pretty kind of cool revelation, I think, that should be shared around. So anyway, what a tease. And at the end of the show for everybody, we're going to talk about a bunch of free agents that have hit the market and who would maybe wind up in AEW. But let's get to it. News you can use. News will leave a bruise. All right, we're going to start off with the most bruising of the news just to get it out of the way. So, did you watch the latest Dark Side of the Ring episode about Chris Kanyon last night, Christy?
I haven't had a chance to take it in yet. No, I won't lie to you.
Okay, it's been less
than 12 hours here on the West Coast. I was editing.
So this episode's about Chris Kanyon. He struggled with depression, bipolar disorder before taking his life in 2010. Now, prior to his death, Kanyon said in several interviews that he was released by WWE because he was an openly gay wrestler, and they get really into it in the episode. And there's this match they show with him and Undertaker where, Undertaker just brutalizes this guy with this chair. And they kind of imply that Undertaker maybe was sending a message to him and others about being openly gay in the business. But the episode also referenced, again, Ric Flair. So Ric Flair said during Kanyon's 2006 appearance on the Howard Stern show. So Flair calls into the show, and he states that Kanyon was not good enough to be in WWE. His release had nothing to do with his sexual orientation. As expected, these resurfaced comments are causing a lot of backlash. Rick is very aggressive in the call-in he has to the Howard Stern show towards Kanyon. You can see Kanyon's very, in the moment, affected by this. And a lot of fans are bringing up this RF video interview that Kanyon did where he says he contemplated suicide after that appearance because he looked up to Rick so much, idolized him, and he also helped to train David Flair in WCW. So Rick issues this statement. He says, breaks my heart to hear later on that he took this so hard. Calling into guests that were seen as hostile to WWE was part of the job then. I should not have said that. Nobody had ever been released. There's no way I could have known that for sure. I was holding the company line. Love is love is love is love, and everyone should be able to love whoever and however they choose without fear of reprisal. I wasn't a huge Kanyon fan as a worker, but Chris Klusartis is a hell of a good guy, which is still a mixed message there in a lot of ways. And again, go listen to it for yourself. It's really not a great look there from Rick. And anyway, he also put this out there, which he tweeted and then deleted, saying, next week on Dark Side of the Ring, Ric Flair and Caitlyn Jenner, both born in 1949. Coincidence or something more? So anyway, I said a lot of things there. What do you want to say? Anything you want to get into here in regards to, kind of the latest round of Rick handling bad news from Dark Side of the Ring?
Yeah, it's very clear that Rick is feeling very scapegoaty right now. Don't you kind of get that from everything that he's saying? He feels like he's the one who's taking a lot of heat. And from what he said, the indications seem to be his attitude is that this is what was going on back then.
You're right. It is super scapegoaty. And all of his responses, it's been, Rory Karpf's fault. It's been the fans who got upset with them. It's been the stewardess. It's been Rob Van Dam. Even in this one, I mean,
I wasn't really a fan of him. I really wasn't, but I was just towing the line. Yeah,
right. But who he's obviously throwing under the bus here is WWE, right? He's saying, I of course respect Kanyon. I was just doing what Vince wanted me to do, right? That's when you know that you got a scared dog on your hands, right? When they're going after the hand that feeds them and have for so long. And for him to be going and throwing Vince and WWE under the bus now in this way in response to this, I mean, this guy's on the run right now. And I it's really sad to watch.
It is, but you got to remember, Vince isn't really the hand that's feeding him anymore. The timing of all of this is very, I don't think that it had anything to do with this. Obviously, could anyone know that there was all this crap coming down the pipe for Rick? But the timing certainly seems to be working out in a way where I think Rick and Vince and Rick and WWE may continue to butt heads, because the initial, the first Dark Side of the Ring incident that we heard about on the plane ride from hell, that could very easily be blamed on Vince and WWE as well. It kind of was getting to that point. So I think this could really heat up as far as Rick shirking the responsibility. That's what I was being told to do. I was playing the character they were giving me. I was towing the company line. And in all reality, with the Kanyon situation, he's probably not totally wrong. He should have kept that statement a little more succinct. All he needed to say was, that he was towing the company line. But I think that that's a good point. And we got to remember, this was a really, really, really long time ago. And a lot of people had very different attitudes a really, really long time ago. A lot of people. And now we all know that those attitudes were wrong now.
I wouldn't have even said the company line thing. Again, short and sweet. The less he says, the better. I regret what I said. It is horrible what happened to Chris Kanyon. I will learn to be a better person going forward in the way I treat people, right? Ownership. We have not seen that. We have seen a child throwing a tantrum for a week and a half with one Richard Flair, and it is very sad to watch right now. Yeah, well, the reason I said the hand that feeds him, and you're right. There is no relationship right now, and there's I think you're right. It's going to get worse, but like, there's no way Tony Khan lays a hand on this guy. Like, I asked Tony about Rick at the last AEW All Out media scrum, and he talked. He was very rosy about his relationship with Ric Flair, how he loves Rick, how Rick had, recently been backstage at AEW, and how Rick had been in Gorilla and was praising the way Tony was handling all the throws for edits, and talking about how that's like getting a compliment if you're a football player from like Tom Brady or something like that. So really putting over Rick. And now, I mean, a few weeks later, I got to think that Rick has become something Tony does not want to talk about anymore. And if the AEW lane is not there anymore, and maybe it still is, I would be very, 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 very surprised if it is. But if it's not, I would not be poking WWE right now and dragging them into this, because you don't know where your next landing pad could be.
True. Nick, I think as woke as I know we're going to get to that too. As woke as Tony Khan likes to say AEW is, right? He likes to create this image that AEW is very woke. I think that he would also love nothing more than to be Ric Flair's hero in all of this, than to be the place where Rick went to redeem himself, than to be the person who gave Rick an opportunity to speak to the fans again and to make this all blow over, as I think probably Rick and Tony think that it ultimately will. We are gonna see Rick in AEW in the next 6 months. I think probably in the next 3 months. And Tony is going to love saving Ric Flair.
Wow.
We're getting to know Tony Khan pretty well by now. And
wow, Tony is going to love saving Ric Flair. Huh. Wow. Yeah, wow. I mean, there's certainly some storms that Tony and AEW have weathered, right?
Yep.
We'll see. I have to believe, like, we have Eric Roberts here. Rick is turning himself into kryptonite, PR nightmare. Like, that's why I agree with the kryptonite thing, but you're, maybe not wrong either, Christy. We'll see how that plays out. So, well, you bring up the woke culture, right? Well, Vince loves, I'm sure, to rag that woke culture, and he decided to poke the bear this past Tuesday night. He introduced Joe Gacy, who, by the way, great wrestler, big Joe Gacy fan. So Joe Gacy comes out, he does this Safe Spaces promo, really tries to, I guess, present himself like a hipster from my own Wicker Park here in Chicago. So anyway, I guess I'll kind of read these in reverse. So WWE received some mainstream press over the past 24 hours over the new gimmick. Fox News, they put out an article that says WWE pins woke left with controversial new wrestler, which inspired the
cute headline. Cute.
Inspired my headline for the show today. The woke left pins WWE. The New York Post, on the other side of the coin, they picked up Fox's coverage, and they saw the other side. WWE pokes fun at the woke left with new wrestler. So it looks like WWE has deleted any related tweets and videos of the segment. They've removed the video of the match between he and Grimes. The video's also been removed from the WWE website library. The only remaining sign of Gacy's new politically correct gimmick is the NXT photo gallery on the website. It should be noted that Gacy's segment is still available on the NXT 2.0 episode, but you told me you went to go try to find it this morning, and you couldn't find the segment. Is the episode not available? They edited out? What happened here?
Well, no, to be clear, my Peacock wasn't working this morning, and then I looked for it everywhere else. YouTube, pirated, Twitter, anywhere, in all of the dirt sheet articles, and was not able to find footage of this. I've seen the photos and read all the quotes. So I think I can probably represent the casual fan right now who didn't see this segment and is just reading these out or into maybe context quotes and hearing the commentary from both the left and the right media about all this.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it live with Liz, and we both rolled our eyes. We were like, "This is the stupidest shit that I've ever seen in my entire life." It was really bad. It was blatant. It was lazy. It's just lazy, kind of like.
Was it insulting? Was it dangerous? Did it make fun of safe spaces and woke culture.
I think it was just, it really just was like Vince McMahon embodied what he thought a progressive woke person, like all the characteristics in one. And it just seemed to be demeaning to anybody, like, trauma victims or whoever else, maybe doesn't want assholes in their universe. So anyway, Joe Casey comes out, and again, like, it should, everything's been deleted, all this stuff is gone, it looks like it's scrapped and all that. But the bigger thing for me is, like, you're trying to counter AEW right now. All right. You're trying to bring in those fans that you lost to AEW. The fans that are ragging on woke culture are not the fans that you have lost. The reason you have lost those fans is because you have been ragging on woke culture and stubbing your nose at progressives for a long time now, right? And I mean, there's the obvious stuff like the Saudi relationship that you can point to, like, hey, super questionable, right? Like, Sami Zayn is not even allowed to participate because he's Syrian, like, discrimination, going along with type stuff. That's all. That's easy points. The deeper stuff is how, like, Daniel Bryan can be a baby face, but when Daniel Bryan starts talking about climate change, he's a heel. Sami Zayn can be a baby face,
vegan bastard.
But when Sami Zayn starts talking about how people in power abuse their power, he's a heel, right? Nation of domination. They're talking about racial injustice. Heels. Like, it goes on and on and on. Retribution, right? Like, people that were inspired by, a lot of the BLM stuff and the injustice that was going on in the country at that time. Radicalized, Molotov throwing cocktail bomb, right? Like, mob. It just it's the complete deafness to the issue at hand for them right now that it was just so glaring. And, like, you're trying to relaunch this thing in a way that you think is going to be hip and cool and bring in younger viewers, and this just ain't it, Chrissy.
No, but from all those other things that are very not PC that they do, it feels like, of course they thought this was going to go. Of course they thought this was okay. I'm shocked by all the other stuff they get away with. Some of the legal treatment of the talent and the Saudi Arabia, all of that stuff. I'm shocked that someone doesn't latch on to that and make it a big news story. It doesn't try to take them down. I can't believe that's never happened. This definitely wasn't going to do it. It makes me wonder where they thought this was going. This woke character and all of that. That's what scares me. Not just that they thought this was okay, but think about the long-term plans for this. If you were to continue to push this, where would have that gone? Scary, gross.
Yeah, it like, that's the thing though, Christy. I don't really think a whole lot of thought was put into this. Like, I think that there was a lot of guys they lined up in the back, and they're like, Braun Breaker, Steiner, but not a Steiner. Boom. You two over here. Cowboys. Boom. Done. You're woke. Boom. Next one. Who? Oh, this is good shit. I'm so good at this, right? Who's the other ones, right? You two. Boom. Amateur wrestlers. Out. Next one. Boom. Just down the line. Like, I don't think there was a whole lot of thought put into a lot of these new characters. I think they're going to try to, I think they were putting them out there to try to find where they could go. Boom.
Throwing stuff at the wall. See what sticks.
Tony D'Angelo, Mafia, boom, done. Next, I'm so good at this. I don't know that there's stories. I think there's a lot of characters. So.
I just picture, Nick, a white wall like at the PC with all those bright colored splotches that they have all over the new gimmicks. Like, let's just paint, just shoot the paint gun at the wall. See what drizzles down.
So anyway, to really kind of put the exclamation point on the message I'm sending here right now, Showbuzz Daily reporting Wednesday's live Grand Slam edition of AEW Dynamite drew featuring hardcore vegan, super woke Daniel Bryan in the opening bout, drew 1.273 million viewers on TNT, up 8.34% from last week's episode. It did a 0.48 in the 18 to 49, up 9%. This week's 0.48 demo rating for Dynamite did fall short of the 0.49 key demo rating that Raw drew, ending Dynamite's 2-week run ahead of Raw in that demo. I did see quite a few of my black friends bragging about how the all people of color main event between Lashley, Big E, and Roman Reigns seems to have brought more people to the table than the largely mayonnaise AEW Dynamite Grand Slam we got. take that for what it is.
No, that
Dynamite.
hadn't occurred to me, Nick, but that's very important to point out.
It is. Yes, it is. It is. You know, you look at what they are doing that is bringing people in and that young demo back, and it's new faces that like represent people you're not seeing elsewhere. So
right. Also, there's historically been speculation that WWE thinks that their black talent doesn't draw. So there you go.
yeah. So yeah, and you know, it was a pretty Mayo Grand Slam, as great as it was, and it was obviously the number one cable top 150 show this week, 5th week in a row. Dynamite has ranked number 1. Dynamite ranked number 22 in viewership for the night on cable, up from last week's number 26. They drew the 2nd highest audience of the year, 3rd highest audience in the history of the show. Dynamite viewership up 52.5% from the same week in 2020. The key demo also up 50%. And that, of course, a year ago, we're going head to head with NXT. But there was a lot more to take from these numbers this week than typical. You know, and I know we're just slicing hairs, and this doesn't take into account how people watch the show in many other ways. But a really, really fascinating time for pro wrestling right now, Christy.
Well, yeah, and you know, let's look at it as the advertisers do, because that's what's going to keep it on TV, right? Is these ratings. You know, us loving it and sitting here and talking about it is not going to keep Dynamite on the air. This growing viewership up 50% from last year. That's the kind of stuff that makes the important people talk, not us.
Yeah. But I mean, great news here. And, you know, more good news for Dynamite, I think, as well. Variety putting out an article saying Dynamite's going to be airing on TBS starting on Wednesday, January 5th. So the first Wednesday of the year, Dynamite will be on TBS. It's going to continue in the same time slot. First of all, I mean, what do you think about the move to TBS? I think there's like a chance they're actually going to get more people watching, isn't it? Doesn't it have better distribution?
Yes, TBS does, yes, but it just always scares me. That's a big change, you know, and we know wrestling fans are very dedicated and we're going to be looking for it. We're going to find it, but there still are bound to lose some eyeballs just out of people that are, you know, used to tuning in on one network. Or it'll also make a big difference. A lot of us have it set to record DVR. Does our DVR going to know that, you know, on Dish versus DirecTV or whatever it is? I'm not entirely sure how that works. That may seem silly, but I think it's important.
Yeah, it is.
People miss a week or two and then they lose interest. That happens all the time.
I hear that argument, Christy, and I think there is some weight to it. But the AEW fans have been it's crazy how loyal this fan base is. I mean, I really thought that Rampage was gonna not do as well as it has, just because like Friday at 9:00, there's already been 2 hours of wrestling before that. That seems like it just seemed like a crazy idea to me, and I could not have been more wrong. I mean, this thing has found an audience, you know, having watched it live and on TV. That hour flies by, you know, like they start every episode with whatever's the hottest, and it I don't want to say dips, but then there's something good at the end. But they have a pacing to that show that's really working for them. And I really found it fascinating that Rampage is going to stay on TNT, not going to TBS as planned. So there's no word on if Rampage is going to move to TBS at a later date, but it was implied that the move has been nixed altogether. And for Warner Media to probably be reacting, I think probably like me, right? Where it's like, wait, what? You made the Friday 10 Eastern time slot work? Like,
we're not going to touch that. Yeah. Good job, guys. Thank you. You're good. You're good.
Like, no. Like, when your 10 p.m. Eastern on a Friday show is the number one show on cable, once or even a few times in a few weeks, right out of the gate, you don't touch that. Like,
No, and of course they've had, you know, some big names and some things that they're not going to be able to replicate every single week. But the fact that they've proven the kind of numbers that they can do when they put all their eggs in that Rampage basket, you know, it says a lot. Like you, I didn't have that high of hopes for it, but it really feels like you have to watch both too, right? Not just that Rampage is a great show that stands alone, but that you are going to miss something if you don't watch both every week.
Well, Eric Roberts, you're saying Rampage is going to suffer from pre-tape spoilers this week. I don't think so. I mean, you think it will?
Not so much with the spoilers thing, but I think it just takes a little bit of the urgency out of it. You know, the idea that we have to be tuning in right when it airs, that dissipates a little bit for me.
Well, I mean, it's Punk versus Hobbs, right? Which I think is like, even if you're like a CM Punk match on free TV, that's pretty crazy. I mean, they have it's 2 hours.
First time in 7 years.
And the vibe off the Grand Slam show, and I've seen some people saying, well, it wasn't their biggest show ever. It had the biggest match they've ever presented. Yada. This show still did very, very well. All right. I think that was Brian Alvarez tweeted out. It beat its like the second place competition for them on Wednesday night. They did 25% better then. So it was a blowout for AEW on Wednesday night. So I had a thought there, and then I got so tied up in the numbers, I lost it. Anyway, so anyway, tonight, 2 hours. There is a lot of momentum coming out of Grand Slam. That's what I'm saying. It's going to have that same look, feel. You got some really big tag and 6-man match. I was like watching them put up the card for this thing. I was like, Jesus, like this is almost like a big, like in some ways, like a bigger card. I mean, you got Omega and Bryan, which was a big match, but like there were some really big matches going on Rampage this week. It was pretty ridiculous. So.
Yeah, I think using CM Punk for Rampage, kind of saving him in that way, has been working out for them. So I'm not surprised that that's what they're doing again. And you're right, it's going to be a big payoff. I'll be watching live.
And if Rampage is staying on TNT, that TNT championship becomes like a staple of Rampage. Kind of becomes the title almost in some ways for that show. So that's interesting. That's interesting to play with. Rob Humphrey here, by the way, saying TBS is in about 1 million more households than TNT. I don't think that's enough to really move the numbers for AEW either way, but it'll move them a little bit. And we're giving
it's not bad news.
No, and but again, this key demo war between Raw and Dynamite, we're talking like tens of thousands of people right now sway either way that decide who wins that demo each week at the moment. So, we got through the AEW stuff. So WWE, they actually, and again, I feel like all this narrative kind of goes together. So WWE trying to find ways to get their groove back, right? Joe Gacy style, super woke. So Wrestling Observer saying WWE has contacted AT&T Stadium officials in the Dallas area with several potential ideas, including the 2-day event that was talked about. That is still under consideration. Isn't done yet. Isn't a done deal as of yet. But there's actually 2 ideas going on. So one is that WWE approached AT&T Stadium about holding WrestleMania on Sunday and then doing a post-WrestleMania Raw on Monday, both with a 40,000 seat setup in AT&T Stadium, which is about half of what they did before when they did 100,000 people. They also talked about possibly doing the 2-day event on Saturday and Sunday, and we're looking into planning, security, insurance, cost of production, length of the 2-day event and 1-day event, and other locations for the various events that weekend. I find it fascinating that you would think about holding a Raw in your WrestleMania venue and maybe even like holding some of your WrestleMania matches to present them on free TV the night after WrestleMania. That's a big tell. That's huge about how much they firepower they feel they need to put out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to decipher what this means too, Nick. And to be honest with you, I don't really know. This is for Mania, not next year, but the following year, correct?
This is AT&T Stadium. This is this year. Yeah, this is the coming up WrestleMania. They're going to be at Dallas.
I'm just so kind of deflated by them continuing to have WrestleMania in the same like 3 places over and over and over again. I've been to Mania at AT&T Stadium. It was freaking amazing. It was the biggest live crowd for WrestleMania ever. I'm not going to go again. I mean, I'm definitely not going to go either way, but I wouldn't go again. You know what I mean? So I kind of think either way, they better be thinking of some new cute ways to present this if it's going to be in the same old AT&T Stadium.
I had a blast at that WrestleMania. I got put in the Cricket Wireless suite last second, and they had an open bar, and I had a really good time. I had the best WrestleMania experience ever. That was great. Anyway.
Well, I was on the red carpet for the Hall of Fame that year, looking at the other ladies that were on the other side holding their WWE microphones, and I said, by next year, that's going to be me, and it was.
Oh, that's awesome. Maybe that was the same Hall of Fame where I snuck onto the red carpet. Like I just showed up and I saw the gaggle of people going to interview, and I was like, I'm in a suit. I just walked over. They walked.
It was chaotic. I could see how you pulled that off.
It was awesome. And then I just wound up down there, like Sami Zayn walked over to me at one point because they weren't sending people to me because I didn't have any credentials. But I remember Sami Zayn being like, dude, are you supposed to be here? And I was like, no, but we met one time in Wicker Park and I was really drunk and you were super cool to me. And he's like, oh, all right, cool. Like he hung out with me for a little bit. Anyway.
Good time. See, we already got our Dallas Mania memories. I'd like to go anywhere else.
So back to Punk here 1 second before we got one more item, and then we're going to dive into the interview with Mike Dawkins, gimmick attorney. CM Punk, breaking news, has brought back his short trunks. He's going to be wearing them against Powerhouse Hobbs on Rampage this Friday night. Put out a Twitter poll asking trunks, long trunks, short trunks one, back to the short trunks, Christy. Any thoughts on this change of costume here for CM Punk?
I think the fact that CM Punk has all the wrestling journalists talking about what he's wearing just says so much about what he's doing to bring more attention to this business right now. And I just love it. You know what, Nick? I don't have to say anything. You just keep telling me about CM Punk's fashion choices. I'm here for it.
Back to the short trunks, everybody. All right. Lastly here, so this one, not great news, but did a lot of traffic. It is obviously worth mentioning. Marty Scurll, scheduled to make his return to pro wrestling for CWA in San Juan, Puerto Rico on Saturday, October 23rd at the Halloween Fan Fest. Now, the promotion put out a teaser video for his appearance, hyped him on Instagram. Now, of course, Scurll has been away from wrestling after being named in the Speaking Out movement. Last year, during the movement, Scurll was accused of sexually assaulting a then 16-year-old female. Now, he posted two statements. His press agent is probably Ric Flair. And in those, Scurll admitted, actually, no, it's probably not Rick. Rick wouldn't have done this. So Scurll admitted to what happened, but said it was consensual and legal due to the UK age of consent. Scurll also noted he wasn't aware of her age until afterwards. Now, prior to that, Scurll had re-signed with Ring of Honor. He was set to take on head booker duties. He went on hiatus after being named in the movement. ROH officially announced the two had parted ways back in January of this year. And by the way, this is the only time in recent or maybe all-time history where I've heard of a pro wrestling company announcing a neutral third-party investigation into a member of their roster and it ending with actual repercussions, right? So,
that's a good point.
Credit where it's due to Ring of Honor there. Now, back in late January, he was involved in a storyline at the New Japan Strong taping, but it was never aired, reportedly due to backlash. The Observer saying at the time that Scurll was at the January 22nd New Japan Strong taping. He took part in a post-match storyline with Rocky Romero, but those plans have been nixed. It was then reported Scurll wouldn't be appearing for New Japan or New Japan Strong shows in the near future. It's a fan fest down in Puerto Rico. That doesn't shock me, but it is unfortunate that Marty, and in some ways Joey too, Ryan, who are probably the two biggest names to kind of come out of this, they're still trying to find ways back in, and it's going to be,
they're being let in.
Well, by some, right? And that's going to be the thing is watching, who wants to play with these guys now, Christy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like when stuff like this comes up, the conversation always becomes about like, oh, well, he did this, well, he didn't do this. It's back to arguing about what happened. The point about all this and the point of Marty Scurll and especially and Joey Ryan coming back to work in the business is that these are people who have proven that they should not have access to fans, that they should not be hiring and firing people, that they should not be in a position to book. Again, Marty should not be given a platform where he can interact with fans. He's proven that he's not responsible in those situations, regardless of what you think about what happened or didn't happen or whatever the opinion is. There are plenty of guys who are not a possible threat to fans or other workers who you could hire that fans would love to see too. So let's just make sure that we're giving all those guys an opportunity before we worry about bringing Marty and Joey back.
All right, Christy. Well, thank you very much for joining me at the top of the show. Excellent points made there in the Marty Scurll conversation to end the news segment. And thank you very much to gimmick attorney Mike Dawkins at gimmick attorney over on Twitter. If you're an indie wrestler and you're like, hey, how do I prevent my identity and from being taken from me at any point in my life? Talk to Mike. Maybe he'll help you out there, right? And the good news that he and the thing he said at the end that I thought was the best piece of advice. I asked him if he had any advice for indie wrestlers, and he said we kind of rehashed everything that he thought was good advice, but he had advice for indie promoters, which was to take assets like your title belt and things like that to trademark them so you own the rights and can then license them to different toy companies or outlets or whatever it may be. And it was more advice for indie promoters about how they should be doing more to trademark their intelligent property so they can make more money.
Tazzing it? Do they call that tazzing it?
We did. It did come out of a conversation we were having about Taz and the FTW title. So, but
Yeah. Oh, that's so fascinating.
I love this. Like costumes, boots, titles, trademark it all, everybody. Get your trademarks in. All that stuff you can license in the future. All of it. So, all right.
Good to know.
Let's dive into the mailbag. Today's mailbag question, just like all the mailbag questions, come to us from @Wink Daily, WINC Daily over on Twitter. We're at 1,283 followers. That means I think we added 3 or 4 followers overnight. That's not enough because my favorite number is 1,284, which means we're one shy. So you have to go like the account. And so we get to 12, 8, it's 100% true. It was my code at my high school locker, 1284, guys. You gotta get me there. All right.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a lie, but it sounded really good. I should do that.
I totally bought it, Nick. You got me.
I shouldn't be that good at lying. Anyway. So today's mailbag question comes from the fact that another round of wrestlers have become free agents. Now, we noted back on June 25th that WWE released Tony Nese, Arya Daivari, Killian Dane, The Sings, Marina Shafir, Ruiz, Stallion, Fandango, Breeze, Everrise, and August Gray. Now, some of these wrestlers were cut under 30-day non-compete clauses, all the NXT names that were listed, but others were under 90-day non-competes. Some of those were Tony Nese, Arya Daivari, Killian Dane, and the Singh brothers, or the Bolywood Boys. So we asked everybody, of these free agents, who do you most want to see in AEW join the party over there? Tony Nese, Arya Daivari, Bolywood Boys, or somebody else? We got about 200 votes here in the last hour. 40.5% Tony Nese, 29.4% somebody else, 23.3% the Bolywood Boys, and only 6.7% for Arya Daivari. Who do you, of these or anybody, who do you want to see make the leap, Christy?
Well, I guess out of those, I would have picked the Bolywood Boys, but I went with Austin Gray on this, the former Anthony Green.
Okay.
I think that it's not just in-ring skills with him, but he is so creative. He can be funny. He can be intense. He's a great actor. You know, I think AEW, with all the other things they do, being the elite and all of that, I think they could really utilize him. He would stand out there in a way that, you know, it's very hard for anyone to do down at NXT.
Yeah. Well, I also go with the Bolywood Boys. And that's a great pick there with August Gray as well. And we'll get to some more write-ins. But the reason I say the Bolywood Boys is so AEW has signed the first ever NBA drafted player from India to be with AEW. He is, let me make sure I get this right, 7'3". His name is Satnam Singh. He's going to start training, I'm going to guess, at the Nightmare Factory. And he's going to become a professional wrestler. 7'3", that's gigantic. I pity the fool that takes that choke slam. So,
so he probably is actually 6'11" and a half.
No, right? I bet this man is 7'3". I think that this man is a gigantic human being. And so Satnam Singh is coming in. The Bolywood Boys have proven themselves in this role of being phenomenal seconds to big men Indian talent. They are great workers. They are great talkers. They are the perfect people to have
nice
around.
Guys.
They're nice guys. I think that you're bringing this guy in here and you're going to want to surround, because Tony loves his factions, right? I think these guys are the absolute perfect people to pair with this guy. And I think it's a layup to do that with these guys. Yeah.
You know, you make a great point, but also AEW just recently brought in 2.0. A couple of a Canadian tag team that was recently released from WWE. It sort of seems like if the guys at AEW were going to make sure that their friends had a job to stay in America, it seems like they already went with 2.0. That would have already happened for the Bolywood Boys. Fingers crossed, because what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And they are fantastic. But I just don't know if maybe that ship has already sailed.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's an easy pickup for me, in my opinion. At 6rings9880 saying for Zango, nothing else matters.
You know what? Those guys could do so much in another area of entertainment. I hope that they end up somewhere doing something cool because I want to
Yeah.
see them.
Vegas, Thunder Down Under. I mean, I feel like
Oh,
I feel like
yes.
the Dango. I think he
Oh my God.
belongs in Thunder Down Under. I think he just fits.
I
So
hope he's
anyway,
thought of that.
yeah,
Are you listening?
I'm sure he's thought about it. I'm sure he's maybe even had those talks. Who knows?
Perhaps.
Brandon Hecht, Bronson Reed, now just Jonah is what he's going by. I mean, sure, seems like an easy get. I want to see Reed wind up in New Japan though. I want to see him become a monster over there before kind of coming back, Lance Archer style. If I had to.
Yeah, that seems like something that he would be really into, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. We have a bunch of write-ins here for none. None of them. Big Damo from JRH, Bolywood Boys.
Yeah, Killian Dane. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, and then we have some write-ins here. We had another one for Tyler Breeze, which was great. That comes from our buddy Nicholas, my plant friend. Hi, Nicholas. I like your picture of a plant. I'm a big
Looks
plant.
like you're thriving, Nicholas.
I'm a big plant guy. I have several plants. Anyway, we have Dave N, the Bolywood Boys, Fear Hook, MCASP. We all fear Hook. And by the way, MCASP, earlier I saw your comment. We're not getting to 1,666 by Halloween, are we? Damn, no Satan appearance. MCASP, let me just say, the goal is still 1,666 followers by Halloween, and you can all go do that, right? My stupid joke about my favorite number seems to drive more followers to get us in that direction. I don't know that me invoking Satan has been a real mover. I don't know that me saying a portal to hell will open on Halloween or October 29th when we do our Halloween show, and Satan will be my co-host. I don't know how that's selling. I don't know how that's going, So
oh, you know what? I think I'm going to challenge you every week. You better tell me what number you wanted at, and you better have a good story about why that's your favorite number. And it better be believable, Nick. Make me suspend my disbelief every week.
That's my favorite game on the show. It really is. So, and then let's see here. Is there anything else I want to throw on here? We all have Fear Hook. Anyone else? Yeah, we have MCASP. I'll say, yeah, Austin and Stallion had a great match with FTR and Dark last Tuesday. It went 10 minutes. So go check that out. All right, everybody. That's going to bring us to the end of the program here today. Where's my run sheet? I had a bunch of things. So we have on Monday, I'm going to be back. Monday is going to be our post-Extreme Rules edition of the Daily. Michael Weissman cannot be here. So we are going to be welcoming live here on the show, guest co-host, veteran WWE referee, Jimmy Corderas is going to be in the house. And
awesome.
Yeah, very excited about that. We always like to talk to Jimmy about, the pay-per-view after it happened, and we're going to get a chance to all do it in real time. So if you're a loyal listener to the show, you love Jimmy. We've had Jimmy on often. I think he did live co-host once before, but this is a very rare appearance. Take the weekend. Think of any Jimmy Corderas questions you have, referee questions. Maybe we'll do a little mailbag at the end of the show. And if you want to use the hashtag WINC WINC Daily, maybe we can start doing a mailbag with that hashtag. But you got to use it. I got to see questions for me, Jimmy, anybody on the show. I'm not good at social media, but I'm told a hashtag is a good idea. So let's try it. Let's do it.
It's a hashtag good idea.
Hashtag good idea. But no, seriously, hashtag Wink Daily. That's the hashtag. I'm supposed to be very clear about that. Also on Monday, we're going to be welcoming to the show Ariane Andrew, formerly Cameron at WWE. Yeah, Ariane is a great guest. Always love talking with her. Definitely is going to break some news that's going to drive some clicks on the site. So stick around.
She always spills the tea. She's always got stuff going on. Oh, I'm going to be tuning in for that one, Nick.
Yeah, that one. It's going to be a big day. Jimmy and Ariane. And just as a note, Ariane is releasing her 150th episode of Sippin' the Tea. It's on all the podcast platforms. You go find that. And her guest on Tuesday, when that drops, is the Bella Twins. And I was like,
my Bella Twins?
Yes. And I was very persistent in trying to get her to tell me stuff about this interview. And she would not tell me anything. But I was like, come on. Are we going to find out why Nikki wasn't at SummerSlam? I don't believe. I got hot dice. I want to
If
know if
anyone's going to ask about that, it's going to be Ariane. Someone in the chat keeps asking me who my favorite is. I think I just made that very, very clear. I can't wait to hear that. I can't wait to hear what Ariane has to say about all the other guests that have spilled the tea on her show.
Dean Bragg, yeah, Dean Bragg has, I guess, been asking us the whole show who her favorite wrestlers on. But yeah, no, she wouldn't tell me. I'm like, hey, can you tell me if Nikki says the reason she was allowed at SummerSlam rhymes with Ron Rena? Like, is that the reason? But, like,
oh, I no doubt. I don't doubt that you tried, Nick.
Oh, I did. Dave in here, by the way. First question, hashtag Wink Daily. Why aren't they pushing QT Marshall? Great. That's a great question.
Been wondering that myself.
You got to use hashtag on Twitter. And look, if you got questions like who's your favorite wrestlers, all these personal questions, hashtag WINC Daily. Let's make a hashtag, everybody, right? Let's make a hashtag together. If you like the Wrestling Inc. Daily, support WrestlingInc.com or on all your socials. The Wrestling Inc. podcast is just like this, but it's after shows. It's at night. So you're going to get a Wrestling Inc. podcast tonight after SmackDown, one after Sunday on Extreme Rules. You can subscribe to that in podcast form as well, or subscribe to the Wrestling Inc. YouTube channel and watch it live, whatever you want to do. Christy, anything you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap up the show today?
Yeah, while you guys are all poking around out there on YouTube, go ahead and check out my channel, Christy Reports. Cover pro wrestling and a lot of reality TV. So if that's your bag, I, of course, am very excited about the Road to the Top premiere next week. I will be covering that. And I always love to hear from you guys. So yeah, hit me up at Christy Reports.
I'm definitely going to watch the first one because I'll give it a chance because I love reality.
And there's 2 episodes. Yes, it's a double episode premiere on Wednesday. They haven't been very clear about that.
I'm very interested to see how that program goes. Because I'm very finicky with my reality. I like Raw. I like 90 Day Fiance because it's like I'm invested, right? This is a very complicated situation these people are in, right? Then I go and I watch the Miz and Miss, and I'm totally tuned out because this is not a complicated situation. It's a very normal situation that you complicated for this reality show, and I don't appreciate that. And I saw on the Road to the Top stuff, it was like Ricky Starks and somebody else came by. They're like, we're gonna fix stuff. And if everything in the show is like wacky hijinks as he tries to put baby stuff together, I don't know. We'll have to see, I guess.
I could see why you might be suspicious about that, Nick. And I think this one could go either way. It's going to boil down to whether Cody and Brandy really are willing to open themselves up. And I don't think they would have signed on to do this if they weren't willing to really kind of show us a different side of them, a real side of them. So I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah. And DXVX here, Nick, you shame us 90 Day Fiance. Really? Yeah, of course. 90 Day Fiance rules. What are you talking about? That show's hilarious. And of course, right now we are 5 minutes away from the premiere of my that's not what I was supposed to do. I hit the wrong thing. From the premiere of my conversation with gimmick attorney Mike Dawkins here. I'll do a screen share because I had a second or two here. Boom, look at this. Mike Dawkins, that's me and Mike right there. I was telling Chris.
Looking good in that thumbnail. Yeah, it's like, who's the lawyer there? They're both in suits. They both look serious and smart.
Yeah, if you want to watch this conversation, it premieres in 3 minutes. You can set a reminder, right? And that'll help you make sure you watch it. It's in my, I had not realized until you were like, didn't you talk to him? And I'm like, no, that was another lawyer. Actually, I've interviewed a few lawyers. So maybe at some point I'll just put together a whole episode of just my interviews with lawyers. Nick talks the law.
The high points.
All right. That's it. You did all your shilling, right? You got all your stuff out of the way?
I'm good.
I have no idea where we're at right now. I'm at Nick _Hausman. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.